Hi, I'm Ken Johnstone. I've been working in mobile product management for around 15 years. I started my career at Scion Computers, which was the first mobile palm-top company. So I was product manager for user interface there. I then spent some time at the Mobile Network 3 and at Motorola. And I started a company called Ink Mobile, which was the first company to bring Skype to mobile and first company to bring Facebook to mobile. My most recent startup is Quikkly, which is a reinvention of the QR code. Quite a lot, actually. So when I started out, product management was really a marketing or business function. So it was about managing the traditional 4 Ps of marketing. It was about managing the product life cycle, which to a degree, of course, is still true. But it was a very sort of business and marketing oriented function. And product managers tended to come from marketing backgrounds or consultancy backgrounds, etc. I think whilst it's always been important to be able to empathize with software developers in technical product management, things have changed. You must be able to win hearts and minds of developers, especially with new processes. I mean, everyone's basically agile these days. A lot of companies are adopting more lean methodologies as well. So you are involved in the day-to-day decision-making and prioritization of features with engineers, having the debates, agreeing what's going to happen, and then going and executing. I think data and the availability of quality data has massively changed. When I started out, the only data available was basically sales data. Now you can measure obviously every click of every product and really get a much more detailed understanding of what's working, what's not. And so when you do make intuitive decisions, you can back them up with quality data and ensure that you're doing the right thing. Design also has always been important, but now, especially for web and mobile app products, if you haven't got a great user journey, if you haven't got amazingly beautiful design, you're just not going to succeed. The bar is so much higher now. So to be a good product manager now, you need to be a bit of a jack of all trades and certainly master of some. You need to be a master of prioritization. You need to be a master of managing and working with developers. And you need to be able to analyze data, spot trends, and react to those trends. Yeah, I think one of the big changes that I've seen is the advent of mobile. Mobile used to be a bit of an afterthought. Now it's mobile first and possibly mobile only. We've entered a phase of relative stability. You know, smartphones are dominant, mobile apps and services are dominant. But I think we're about to enter, over the next 5 and 10 years, we'll see another step change because of 5G and the way that 5G is going to be slightly different. 5G standards are still being worked upon, but you're going to see much more, the ability to support much lower powered devices, much lower bandwidth devices, which should really kickstart the whole Internet of Things. And we're going to see new types of device and product that haven't really been imagined yet. From a product management point of view, the day-to-day responsibilities as a startup and at a corporate are pretty similar, but the environment in which you're working can be radically different. Corporates tend to have a lot more budget. They tend to have a bit more tolerance for waste as well. They tend to have more resource, and they tend to have a lot more governance and process for decision making. So I have seen products literally being worked on for years where the initial idea was a good idea, but the signs that things may not be right have largely been ignored. Now that can be for many reasons. It may just be that the team have been drinking too much of the corporate Kool-Aid and are convinced they're doing the right thing, or it may be executive sponsorship, or it may be just that the team are reluctant to say, hey, this isn't working, we should stop and go do something else. At a startup, you just don't have that luxury. You've typically raised enough money to get you to the next business milestone. If you don't hit that business milestone, you won't be able to raise more money, and therefore you're probably dead. It's not like that at a corporate. Or dare I say it, the level of passion at a corporate tends to be lower than you would get at a startup. That can be for a number of different reasons as well, but you are living or dying by the product at a startup. At a corporate, you're earning a salary, At a startup, you're incentivized probably more by equity than day-to-day salary. So you know as a team that if something goes wrong, your equity is going to be worth less. If you decide that things are going wrong, or you've discovered something that's working in a way that you didn't expect it to, and you've learned from something, and you have course corrected to take account of that learning, it's much easier to bring the team along with you if you think, look, the business will succeed if we do this, the business is going to be less successful if we do that. In a corporate environment, it takes a pretty brave product manager to stand up in front of the executive team and say, hey, I've done some thinking, or hey, I've uncovered some data that actually says, my product's a bad idea, we need to radically change it, or we need to kill it. Because that might mean I don't have a job anymore. A smart corporate will say, great, look, you've saved us a load of money here, we've got a load of stuff on our roadmap that we want to do. Let's go focus on that instead. But still, I think there may well be an element of fear in corporates to say, hey, I'm working on something that's just not very good. In order to size a team, I tend to take a fairly aggressive approach with it. I like to have a team that's slightly smaller than it needs to be. I like everyone in the team to have their boundaries slightly pushed and stretched. I have worked and seen projects happen where the team's actually been too big, and that can be very destructive in terms of productivity. When you have too many opinions in a room which are unsupported, you have overlap in terms of skill sets, so people climbing on top of each other trying to build the same things. It's much better to have a little bit of space between everyone in the team, and then it becomes very apparent where you need to add resource and build. And do that at the last minute, just don't do it too soon. I think the optimum size for any product team is somewhere between 4 and 8 people, and if you get bigger than that, it's much better to split the team in two and have 2 or multiple teams. You can share some resource, like design resource and test resource can be shared across multiple teams, but really have small teams that are all aligned. They know where they're trying to get to, and are really passionate about getting there. There are lots of things I enjoy about product management. I enjoy the big strategic stuff, setting the direction for where a company or a product wants to go, right down to the feature prioritization, the builds, the releases, the monitoring and tracking of the success of products or individual features, and making the appropriate adjustments to those products and features. I enjoy big challenging products as well. I like this seemingly impossible product that is broken down into manageable chunks, resourced appropriately. And as you see those chunks come together and the product start to take shape, you get an enormous rush from that. Data analysis is really good as well. When you do spot a trend, something that you didn't expect to see, or a behavior happening that you didn't expect to see, whether that's a good or a bad thing, the ability to react to that can be really satisfying as well. The other thing I like about product management is that in a career, you can work on lots of different types of product, because the fundamental skill set of a product manager is consistent. One year you might be working on a social product, the next year you might be working on a fintech product, the next year you might be even working on a hardware product, because the ability to break down problems into manageable chunks and the ability to define user journeys and components of a product is consistent. And that's great, because that means over the course of a career in product, you can work in loads of different industries, loads of different types of products, which keeps it fresh and keeps it exciting. The best bit of advice I've had has actually been when things have been tough, when I've been working on enormous projects and it's all getting too much and things are starting to go wrong, and I've had the chairman of the company I was at the time saying, look, I get why this is hard. I get, because we're trying to do things that have never been done before. But if you do it, you'll look back on it in 10 years and think, that's amongst the best things I've ever done in my whole life. And he was right. When we launched the 3 mobile network, nothing worked. But we slowly made things work, and we slowly delivered a successful product. And it was really tough and seemed impossible at times, but we did it. And You know, that's a few years ago now, but the bond between me and some of the other team members that were there still stands really strong because we went through that journey together.